Call the meeting to order. Welcome to the February 6th meeting of the Lee Select Board. First order of business are the minutes of January 2nd and January 16th. Do you have a motion to approve or discuss? Or?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve the open session minutes of January 2nd, 2024 and January 16th, 2024 as written.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on, we have a public hearing, which we probably should explain. We have a roll call vote to opt out of vote by mail for the 2024 town election. And not that anybody should be alarmed, you can still vote by mail, but we're doing it a little bit differently. Chris, do you want to give us an overview?
Yeah, it's just that the state sends out those white postcards to everyone for the presidential election. Most towns are opting out of using those for our local because right now we're hitting around 1,000 of those. All the postage that requires to send it to and from the voter, and when a lot of them are just asking for it for the presidential election. So you can still get vote by mail, just request it through the clerk like you would normally do for an absentee ballot if you can't make it on election day. But it's more of a money and staffing issue for most towns in the local election.
And will there be something posted on the town website?
Yeah, it's on there now. You can sign up for, you can get the application for an absentee ballot. Yeah. Anyone that's on with a permanent disability that's on our permanent list is going to get it automatically. It just takes that postcard part out of it.
Okay. Any?
No, Mr. Chairman, I just point out that this was also recommended by our town clerk, Rachel Armstrong, and she's the election official.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to opt out of the vote by mail for the 2024 town election.
I would make a motion that we opt out of the vote by mail for the 2024 town election.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
We need to roll call this?
Yeah.
Gordon Bailey, aye.
Sean Renier, aye.
Bob Jones, aye. Moving on, we have a public hearing to amend an FL-2A license to store flammables for Eurovia Atlantic Coast LLC doing business as Northeast Paving at 1 Willow Hill Road, map 2, lot 4. Is that a presentation? Or?
Is there somebody here from?
Yeah, come on up.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Hello.
How we doing?
Hi.
Okay.
What did you have in mind?
So Julie Simons, Northeast Paving. So we're proposing to install a new 30,000 gallon asphalt cement tank. And with that, once we will remove a 20,000 gallon asphalt cement tank, increasing our storage capacity on site by 10,000 gallons.
And will it go in the same location?
It is going to go, the new tank is a vertical tank. The existing tank that we're removing is horizontal. So the new tank will be located next to an existing vertical tank in the same containment.
Okay.
And the fire chief did review all this and is good with everything.
That's good with it.
Yep, and we'll go through the state application process as well.
Right. Gentlemen, do either of you have any questions or comments?
No, that was my question where it was gonna go, but essentially the same location.
Yep, the same location.
No problem with it. Just open it up to anybody else if they have anything.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the FL2A license.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is this also a roll call or is that?
No, that was just.
It was just for the other one.
Aye,
yeah.
yeah.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very
you.
much.
Good enough. Thank you.
Moving on, the second public hearing on a petition from N-Star Electric Company doing business as Eversource to install one solely owned pole to be located approximately 105 feet northerly from an existing pole, number 76-11M, for electric service to a barn on Spring Street. Do we have anybody, property owner, or anybody from Eversource? Or?
I haven't heard from anybody.
I think this seemed pretty standard for me. We're just adding a post for additional service, right?
That's what it looks like.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the North Star Electric Company to install one solely owned pole in the location specified on their map, and to provide service for the barn in that location.
I'll second that.
Any further
I
discussion?
just have a question about
yes.
location off the road and whatnot. It doesn't, I wish somebody was here.
You're talking about setback
As
off
far as the,
street.
yeah, because I mean, it's in the public right of way, that's what we have to approve. But there's no distancing off the public way. It's 105 feet distance, but it's just on the other side, but there's no, I mean, are they 5 feet away from the road, 10 feet, 20, what's our right of way?
Could we put a stipulation that they,
Yeah, and what they're looking is to bring it across it's on,
Yeah,
I
right.
believe,
Go over.
the north side, and they want to get it to the south side.
Right, to feed the barn, but there's always guy wires and that kind of thing. I just wondered how far off the actual traveled way are we talking about? And there's nothing here that talks about that I see.
I didn't see
Feet in the
anything.
northern. Yeah, I don't see a scale either. It does show it in that same utility
Yeah.
right of way as the other pole. So with the assumption that it's the same,
Setback.
same setback as the other ones on the
Yeah,
street.
I drive that street quite often. I don't have a problem with poles, that are there now, as long as they keep the same. As long as they keep the same setback as
So
they
can
have
we
the
add
rest of
that
the
as a
street.
stipulation
It says add
to
a
the
condition that it keep the
conditional.
same setback.
Yeah, so
It's no closer
I'd
to the
amend my
traveled
motion
way.
to include a conditional, condition that the pole be set back consistently with all the other poles on that street.
Sure. Yeah, and I'll amend that, second the amendment to it.
Okay. So we have a motion with the amendment in front of us. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And a third public hearing. Oh, sorry,
Actually, four.
fourth. Wow. A public hearing on a nuisance or dangerous dog complaint pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140 and 157, located at 45 Housatonic Street. Do you have the dog officer here?
How you doing?
Good evening.
Aye.
Not much of a presentation, but I had received a couple complaints about this particular dog from two separate parties and also the Postal Service. One party involved an injury to an animal that was sent to the vet, but I have statements from those two owners and also the post office that are in your packets. So I wanted to basically bring it in before the board because I felt like it was due for it.
And we've tried, is the dog currently licensed?
The dog is not currently licensed, to my knowledge. The dog was licensed towards the end of 2021, has not been licensed since.
And just for the record, I wonder if you'd be willing just to state briefly what remedy you've asked for in the past.
To license the dog, keep it restricted to the apartment. There is a temporary muzzle order for the animal, given the last incident. There's really just been asking it to not happen and keep the dog inside and obviously leashed whenever it's out and not to get loose. Otherwise, there might be fines, but I haven't got to that point.
Okay, and what are you looking specific, are you looking for something specific from us, or?
Specifically, perhaps to extend the muzzle order for a longer period of time. I'm concerned that the dog might get loose again, so there's thought of training, perhaps insurance in case the dog does get loose again. Like I said, there have been injuries already on one occasion that I'm aware of. So those were all kind of options that the Mass General law allows for. So I, again, wanted to bring it to your attention and see if there's anything that you wanted to do.
Animal Control's authority is only up for 14 days.
Correct, yes,
So
the
anything
temporary muzzle
beyond
order,
that-
right.
Right,
The board has to act.
Okay.
thank you. Do we have, are the owners here, or? Great, please
Sure.
come up.
And then come on up.
Oh, the dog?
Well, come on up and we'll talk to you. Yeah. Can you state your name for us?
Margie Jimenez.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to explain your side of all this and why the dog's out without a leash or why it's not licensed?
The license the last couple of years been a shit show for me. Besides that, I know that's not an excuse. Also, she got spayed when she was way too young, and the vet didn't tell us it was too young to get spayed. They just were like, okay, we'll spay her. And then afterwards, we did got a trainer, and he was like taking care of her, like he was helping us out. And the trainer that we had, he was like, hey, I have to go away for some time. And then I was like, okay. Then we got in contact again, and he just disappeared. Didn't hear more from him. For the dog to being out without a leash was my dad. I told him multiple times to put a leash on her, and he didn't listen. So that's why we're here. And she does have an appointment tomorrow to get her vaccine, so I can get her license again. Because they were like, I can't get her license until she has the
Right.
vaccines. So.
Is the dog solely under your supervision mostly, or is it a family dog? Is there multiple people that live at this residence? I'm just trying to understand exactly.
He lives with my mom, my dad, my aunt, and my cousin. They're here. My dad's not here.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's obviously been a problem. And is the dog currently muzzled when the dog goes out? And it's on a leash when it goes out?
Yeah, I'd be worried about that road and the dog getting out into the road too.
Yeah.
Without a leash, that's pretty important.
Do you own the home or are you renting?
Renting.
You're renting. Does your renter's insurance company know that you have this dog?
They
You
know
may
about
wanna
the
look into
dog.
that.
Okay, I'll let them
Because
know.
if you haven't told them that and there's a problem, it could be that they will not cover you.
Okay.
And then you're gonna have a very expensive, some very expensive bills to pay if they bite a person or a dog.
Okay.
But it's something you need to look at to protect yourselves and your whole family. So, it can be a problem. Okay.
I think that the dog officer has certainly taken the right steps here, the right course in bringing
Yeah.
it to us. If you in fact have the dog muzzled when the dog is out, if the dog is always on a leash, if it's always with you or one of the handlers of the dog, then that should continue. But if it comes back to us again, it could present problems that none of us want to have to address.
Right, absolutely.
How old is the dog?
She's 4.
4. Okay. There's more people that'd like to speak.
Another comment?
Hearing,
If you can
Why don't
just
you come up
please.
to the mic, please? Yeah, thank you. Just announce yourself and thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jane Burns, and our dog was the dog that was bitten. He's okay. But we live right down the road from the other dog, and this is Theo, by the way.
Hi.
It's my husband.
Right.
So, I've seen things like this happen from both sides. my brother once had a dog who bit another dog, and there was danger of the dog being asked to be put down. And, you know, I know how horrible and painful that can be for the dog owner. We would never want something like that to happen. But that being said, you know, we've actually had other incidents with this dog before we had Rizzo, our second dog, who was bitten. I was walking my other dog, Parsley, and we were on the opposite side of the street from their house on Housatonic Street. And the dog was out off leash and ran across Housatonic Street into traffic to come and like try to bite Parsley, our other dog. And luckily I was able to see the dog coming from far enough that I was able to sort of, you know, like scoop her up and protect her in time. But it seems like, I feel like I've seen the dog a lot just kind of like not really totally in control in their yard. I would ask, that our vet bills be paid. It would cost over $1,600 for Rizzo to go to the emergency vet and be stitched, and he had to have a drain inserted, and, you know, 2 weeks later have the stitches removed and all of that sort of stuff. We brought the bills with us. And also I would just ask that anytime the dog is outside, that it please be leashed and muzzled.
I second that. Yeah, would not want the dog to be put down at all, but it's got to be on a leash. I mean, our dogs, we keep on a leash constantly, and they're tiny, but we've seen them just, you know, they're dogs. But
yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
were just walking on the sidewalk in front of the house.
Right.
So it was totally like in public property, the same route that we walk like almost every day. So,
Can you approximate when the last incident was?
yeah, so it was, I think
was-
on the 13th was when Rizzo was bitten. I'm pretty sure. Let's see what the bill says. Yeah, January 13th.
And since then, have you seen the dog?
No,
don't-
we've been
don't-
avoiding
we stay
the
on the other
house.
side of
Okay.
the street. Yeah. But yeah, our dog is going to need training now too, because he's
Yeah.
lashing out at bigger dogs too.
Yeah. Poor
Yeah.
guy. Lightly traumatized.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have the ability to impose
The monetary.
the monetary.
Yeah, civil matter.
Yeah, you may
Right,
need to
okay.
file in district
That
court
might be,
for that.
yeah.
Yeah,
We can look into it.
Together after this too.
You can extend the muzzle order, you can extend
Yeah.
the leash order.
Right,
yeah.
Make sure it's licensed within
yeah.
2
certain
weeks,
time.
whatever, and then if there's another infraction, then
Yeah,
come back
right.
here, but,
Right.
Okay,
Thank you for
sure.
taking the time.
Okay.
See if anybody else has any.
Any other public comment? Well, we can,
Are you raising your hand?
He said, Vicky said, was there any other?
Right. No, no,
Yeah,
no.
for this hearing, for this hearing.
I
yeah.
understand.
ice skating rinks later, yeah.
Get out there and take care of that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we continue the muzzle order at this point indefinitely until they want to come back and ask for it to be released, the muzzle order to be released after proof of training and whatnot that will behave. Also, we do have a leash law in town where you're always supposed to have your dog leashed when it's off property and whatnot. And if it's not leashed, you can't keep it on your property. It's gonna run off your property, especially it sounds like if there's another dog involved. So I'd make a motion that we extend indefinitely the muzzle order and the leash order until such time as they can come back and show us that the dog has gone through training and is no longer a danger to other animals or children, for that matter. That would be my motion, I think.
and the
Oh, and as
license.
far as licensing, yes, the continuation of the motion would be that they show us proof of licensing with the town within 14 days.
Okay.
She will get licensed after, like, tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Her license.
that's why I said 14 days, gives you a little leeway, but yes,
Okay, so it'll be,
I'll second that motion. Gordon.
thank you.
is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you for coming in. I know this is
Yeah,
tough
it's
for
tough.
everybody,
Yeah,
so.
for everybody.
Yeah.
We all like dogs, so it's a tough thing, so.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. Make sure your dad keeps that dog on a leash. Okay? Thank you, yeah.
All right. Next, we have public comment. Do you want to hear about ice skating rinks?
What, wait, we have a.
Kathy, it's you.
Ice skating rink?
We have I get my Speedo and go ice skating. Hi,
I'll
Kathy.
be out of
Kathy Hall
town.
from the Lee Youth Commission. I would
I'm
like to
pretty
surprise you and say I don't have any information about the ice rink, but I don't want to disillusion you because so anyways, the Lee Youth Commission is still hopeful for our second Saturday ice skating event this Saturday evening, 5:30 to 7. Let me see. Lenny Tisdale, Superintendent of the Department of Public Works, has been dealing with the arduous task of repairing the liner so that water can be maintained. In the same vein, Chief Brown from the Lee Fire Department has been diligently paying attention to the level of the water and the weather. In addition to the original amount of water needed to fill the rink, he recently added 2,000 gallons of water to try to maintain the rink for skating. All efforts are being made for Saturday's event, including a light tower, heaters, food truck, hot chocolate, and a one-day entertainment license. But everything still depends on the weather. Please stay tuned for announcements via the town's website, the Lee Youth Commission Facebook page, and the Lee Community Board about Saturday's event. Thank you.
Seems to me I see flyers posted around town
I
too.
know.
Okay,
But I think we're still holding on, but I think by Thursday,
Yeah.
we'll make a definite decision so
yeah,
We're
it
supposed
can
to share
be
the 40s
announced or
tomorrow.
whatever.
yeah,
So,
and in the 40s, nice
you
day
know,
tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see.
okay.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you.
Kathy. Any other public comment? Hearing none? Oh,
Josh,
oh, yes.
I want to be Josh Bloom, 204 West Park Street in Lee, also a member of the Lee Youth Commission. I want to be a little bit more realistic and pessimistic about the weather forecast for the weekend. Both Friday and Saturday look like the lows will be above freezing and the highs in the mid 40s on Friday and 50 on Saturday. I have strong concerns that will not make for conditions that will be prime for skating on Saturday night. With that being said, I emailed Bob and Chris in advance of this meeting to express my concerns about the date that we were holding for the event, and wanted to ask if the select board would consider or advise us on how to consider having some flexibility about rescheduling if we want to reschedule for a different date in February for hosting the event with the potential of recorded music and the light tower and possibly the food truck and so on.
And I think the idea was
It's an interesting
to
thing.
amend
Right,
the
right.
entertainment license
Sure.
without going through a whole reapplication.
yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that. There was no charge anyway, so it's just a matter of working with the weather and with the group, so, you know.
So do we need to come back to you with a specific date, or we're
just gonna
good
ask
as long
that.
as it's before the end of February?
Yeah.
Well, what if there was a motion that would just say that it would be your one-day entertainment license would be forwarded for another 14 days? That takes you to at least our next meeting.
Sure, great.
And used
That works
at
for
your
me.
discretion based on the weather? What do you think? Sean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we could make it conditioned that your one-day license is valid for one day. We don't,
Within the
weather
next
dependent.
14.
Within the next
Sure.
14, it's
Sure,
weather
whatever.
dependent. Yeah, right, something. I
I'd
don't-
be good with that. Why don't you make it?
Sure, I'll move that we amend is it just the entertainment license?
Yes.
Just, we amend the entertainment license for the youth commission to hold their event in the town park for, one day within the next 14 days, weather dependent as far as the function goes,
Yeah, I'll second that. Sure.
if that,
Okay.
We
Is there-
just want to make sure, let the church know the new date as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'll take care of that as well.
thank you.
Very good. Is there any further discussion, anything from the public? Hearing no comment, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Josh.
All right. Any other public comment? Hearing none. Moving on, we have general business, Berkshire Regional Transit Authority, approval of an additional Main Street bus stop.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Nice
Hello
to see
again.
you
Nice to
again.
see
I feel like I brought the big guns. I'd like to introduce. I did. So I'm your representative to the board for the BRTA, but with me is Bob Malinotti, who is the executive director. So he's going to be able to answer all your
Good.
questions about the bus route.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
yeah, I think we're happy to have the bus route back, right? And did we put this out to the businesses?
We did.
I actually talked to several and had them call me a couple of times. So the feedback I got, and I did try and reach out to you, Andrea, on email. Yeah, I tried to email you, and we'll talk later.
I'll give you my-
Yeah, because you don't have a number or an email on your card. So I went to your Facebook page or something, and I definitely went down. It was an
Yeah, I
MSN.
totally bother Chris all the time.
Yeah,
I'm
well, that's-
surprised you
I forwarded what I had. so-
Well, anyway, I talked to the Shields, the owners across the street, and also the Zavians, and they were not keen on losing any public parking on the street. So, question for you. I did not talk to Kelly's to see if we could grab the last two right before the corner or something like that, which, based on what your timeframes are, it might be fine, as long as they don't have a funeral, but, it's something I think you could work out, or they could work out with you. But those in particular, and one other one on the other side, wasn't keen on losing the spaces permanently, because it would be two spots that are kind of like off limits.
That was my question. Is it 2 spots that you're losing on the?
Yeah, because we had
Bus stop.
questions
believe
about
it's-
big bus, little bus,
Right,
we
that's
didn't know
what-
what you were using.
My understanding is it's going to be a smaller bus
Okay,
for the time being. Right now, it's 5:30 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, and 5:30 and 7:30 at night, leaving Pittsfield and getting down to Barrington and then turning around, coming back. So that ridership right now is warranting a smaller vehicle.
sure.
And the fact that we wanted them across each other with a crosswalk,
Yeah.
DOT standards, that's
Sure.
what they're looking for. And
Well,
so,
I would think 5:30, 7:30 in the morning wouldn't be a big deal, but it's the rest of the day, maybe if there's limited parking for a very limited period of time, like a bus stop from whatever, from 5:30 in the morning until 8 or so. I don't know how long it takes your buses to get down here. But I think we have to be considerate of our businesses and blocking off, prime spots in the middle of their business day. And if you're just running morning and evenings,
That's
I
it.
think that would be a lot easier to deal with.
and right now, that's what the current schedule is calling for.
Because I know some of the businesses, a couple of them aren't open after like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, so that wouldn't be a problem. They're not open that early in the morning. Kelly's could be a little bit different issue as far as a lot of calling hours are like 4 o'clock to 6 or so, that kind of a time frame.
So the
But again, open in the morning usually for those two time frames.
Yep, the proposed time to be at this stop
Yeah.
would be 5 of 6 and 5 of 8,
Okay? So I'm just gonna say 6
both
and
morning
8.
and night.
morning and night, both 6 and 8, let's say.
Yeah.
Is there a way to designate the two spots as a bus stop during these hours and then open parking for these hours
Yeah.
and then compromise?
Yeah, I
Well,
would see that,
parking
I think I would just see that being tricky with people just not, they're not gonna read that or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just gonna be there and then the bus pulls up and,
When someone is there and the bus can't pull in, what happens?
yeah, that's where you run into problems, I think,
Double
right?
park.
My guess is the bus would stop in the travel lane,
Right.
pick people up or
Exactly.
drop them off, and then continue
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So
Cause
I-
you're gonna have that anyway at first, where
Yeah.
people are just not gonna be used to having a bus stop, they're gonna park there.
I wonder I'm sorry, Bob.
Yep, you go right
I wonder
ahead.
what kind of traffic is happening at 5 of
Yeah.
6, 5 of 8 in the morning at front of the Morgan House or Dresser Hall, wherever that is. I mean, I can't imagine, can they park there overnight and keep their cars there? Is there an
Generally
ordinance
not.
that says that?
Generally, they do not.
Right, so the police are
So-
involved, right, so for that,
Yeah.
maintaining that.
Well,
And-
especially in winter.
Right,
Well, in winter they can't, and during the summer months, I don't
I've
think there's
never
anything
seen
stopping
it.
them from.
Yeah.
I don't think the morning time is actually the
It's the
problem
nighttime.
time. I think it's especially the 6 o'clock time in the evening.
Yeah.
But I have a question. What about an alternate route where you zip down Railroad Street and just stop in front of the Uraldi building? You know, I mean, I thought that might be a good, you're right, I mean, you know, you're 100 feet or less from Main Street for anybody who needs a ride. And would it be, you've got a crosswalk
Crosswalks
going
there.
across.
Hyde
You have
Place.
one from Hyde
That's-
Place, and that could be some of your, ridership, but also, it just seems like it's not taking up many businesses. And if we ever build a police fire station, it would be right
Will.
there. And, well, we'll see how the vote goes. But, that would also be able to continue that with a crosswalk, it would be safe. I don't know
Are
how
you
the
familiar with the
BRTA
street you're
feels,
talking about?
I'm not sure.
So
Okay.
it's about, what would you
Yeah.
guys say, 100 feet away
If that, if
from where
that.
you want it? And it takes you off the main street for about a quarter of a mile.
Well,
maybe?
yeah,
And then it
you
brings you
turn-
right back on the main street.
Right,
Turn out
right,
the hardware
right.
store and come out almost.
Almost
One block up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
half a block up
Okay.
even.
I'm going to give
Anyway.
Josh an opportunity, may have,
Oh, his hand's up.
yep,
Good.
Josh?
Yeah, I just in considering alternative options, there also could be the parking lot of the Walgreens might be also a suitable spot for parking for the bus stop, because when you have the Peter Pan buses and the Greyhound buses, and I think maybe even the buses that go through the town, they stop in the parking lot at the Mobile at the other end of town, and so that parking spot, that bus stop is off the street already too. So if we're concerned about parking spots, perhaps we could see if there seems to be ample space there. Maybe that might be an option.
Is that public property?
No,
that's-
Not that's
I
private.
think the other
That's where
thing
it
is,
goes.
Josh, just to talk about that, is I think that what they want to do is come down Main Street and then take a right on West Park. So that way they would have to go
That doesn't work.
by the
That doesn't
route.
work at all.
Yeah, and that was the only, because I had thought about that earlier, and I thought, well, if they want to turn up West Park Street, then that's kind of like,
If you want to take out the concrete blocks in the parking lot
well,
of the.
I actually thought of that, seeing if the owner of the old, the ex-Price Chopper area would allow for some limited traffic, but they have other concerns about that issue. But anyway, so if you want to show them the Uraldi building,
Absolutely.
and just think about it, because,
Go ahead. So it's,
we aren't sure if that would work out or not.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna ask them to change the bus stop, they might wanna do some more investigation.
I agree with you.
Come back,
Yeah, I agree.
Because we have
So we
construction
own
going
all
on
this whole
there.
Yeah.
section here.
Yeah.
So it could
Yeah,
come
I
down
do
there.
If that
Although,
happens.
I think isn't all the water line work should be pretty
That's
close to
pretty
done,
well
right?
done.
Check with operations.
I know there's
just make
still,
sure.
there's still something going
And,
on.
and I know the reason why we wanted
Yeah,
that spot was,
Sure.
you got the crosswalk, we stop in front of here, heading north.
right, exactly.
You want to get customers accustomed to where the location would be, so we don't move it all around.
Right. And I can understand that.
So,
I can understand that. So do you need time to talk to your people to see if the Araldi building location would work?
I will
Maybe
certainly
take a
go
little
back.
site visit? Because it would be great to have this happen. And maybe in the meantime, we could double check with our businesses about those timeframes
Okay.
and see if there's issues, especially if it's big signage that, people can't really miss.
On normal,
Yeah.
just a regular bus stop sign,
Yeah.
that it goes on a
Yeah.
regular pole and.
Yeah,
it would
no,
just
we
be-
want to make sure that the times are on there, because
Yep.
if we're going to reserve you for a certain part of time,
Right,
that might be helpful to go back and talk to businesses.
Right, and say, it's really just
Yeah,
6 and 8 and 6 and 8. That's it.
right.
So,
See what the concerns are. Maybe there won't be any at that time,
okay,
you know?
good enough.
I'm not sure about some of the hours, but we'll check with more businesses.
leave you.
Thank you. Is your number on it? Okay, and your correct email addresses on it? That would be very helpful.
I'm just, I have a question, because I
Yes, sir.
can't visualize it, but where the old Price Shopping parking lot is, there's Avian's, whatever, there's an in and there's an out.
Right, I
Is there
wondered
a
about
place
that.
right in the middle that could accommodate just above, there'd be no parking except above?
I think it's just a small island there.
Okay.
There is.
it's a good idea, but,
And my guess is we would probably end up stopping in the middle of the travel lane, let people on and off, and away we
Exactly.
go, so.
Yeah, I think it's just enough space for their sign.
Okay,
Well, also, it's not ours to give.
right.
yeah,
And that's the other, at least these other places are ours to negotiate
Right,
with.
right. And I believe, isn't there a sign now that says bus stop is no longer here?
There's,
Yes, there is, yeah.
So,
So
I
I
mean,
get that.
That could be very easily swapped out and said, and we stop a little,
Right.
front of it.
Certain timeframes, and that's the key.
yep,
Because I'm not sure that the McClellan's building is open after 6. I'm not sure. but I
Morgan
have to
House
look in.
parking would be
Morgan House
at
is,
time.
that would be affected, so we'd still have to talk about it.
okay,
All right, but let us look into it. I'm
appreciate it,
not saying no.
okay,
We appreciate the
Appreciate-
alternatives.
right,
Yeah,
all right.
very
Thank you
good.
very much.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
enough. Yep, we'll see you later.
So are we coming back in 2 weeks? Is that what's happening?
Well, and our next meeting would be 2 weeks. Yeah, why don't we do that? We'll
Circle back.
investigate. You'll then know more about, I'm not trying to.
this is really good.
Yeah, I'm practicing for next year.
Yes, right. That's good.
Maybe.
I'll spell you next week.
Unless I get out. Yeah, I'll get out.
Oh, my.
We'll let somebody else try.
No, don't do that.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Very good. We'll see you later.
My con-
That would be nice.
I almost gave you my card the other day. Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, all right. We'll see you later.
I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure Leslie wants to leave, we got the gas permits now.
There you go.
All right,
Pretty
moving
exciting
on.
stuff.
We have 4 applications for gas permits. One for, I'll read them all together. For 165 Water Street, emergency gas repair. The work's already been completed. 270 East Center Street, an emergency gas repair. The work has already been completed. 165 Laurel Street to replace a portion of the gas service. And 14 Park Place, a gas leak repair.
I hope it's
I hope that's
gas
been
leak
completed.
too, but.
Yeah.
Just looking to see if they have to have any road openings at all. There's some concerns about, we can't, by 2 minutes plants aren't opening, so. It looks like this is not in this, I'm looking at 165, I believe.
Yeah.
Laurel. It is not in the road.
Right.
Looks like it's all
Yeah,
private, so I
it
have a
is,
problem
yeah,
with that. Okay. Did you look at the other one?
The other one will be on the road. It's
Okay.
Park Place right here, so it will, I think it's on the road and on the right of way and in private, I think it's all of the above.
Okay.
Yeah, they're working on that
They're
one. That's
working
the
on-
leak. So
that's
this
the
is
leak.
unbroken.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah,
The Park Street.
The Park Place, yeah.
Park, yeah.
They're working on it
Yeah.
today too, so we couldn't wait on that one.
Well, I would say not, yeah,
Yeah.
no problem.
but, Fitz, can we do all these together?
I think so.
I'd make a motion to approve the gas permits for 165 Water Street for an emergency gas repair, 270 East Center Street for an emergency gas repair, 165 Laurel Street to replace portion of gas service, and 14 Park Place to repair a gas leak.
I would second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, we have a temporary sign permit for the Greylock Federal Credit Union, their new building. And they've,
Yes.
They want it for the open, now open sign?
yeah, I think they have a photo of, or an
Yeah,
illustration.
we talked to
How
them
many
about
square
that.
feet
Yeah.
was this? 34 square feet?
Square inches,
Square.
so 12 feet long. Like
Yeah.
less than 3, so 36. Well, as a special kind of grand opening, this is our flexibility as a board.
Mhm.
Um,
Did they say how long it's going to be?
Yep, until March 8th,
Okay.
which is, again, if they want to extend beyond that, they can come back, but that's 30 days is what we're allowed to do.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we approve the temporary sign permit for Greylock Federal Credit Union
Oh.
at 43 Park Street.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on. Okay, a PCB Advisory Committee discussion.
All right. So we're
This is
all-
Josh,
why we-
yep, and somebody else,
This is
okay.
why we all came here. tonight.
Yep. So,
Yeah. So we're talking about putting together a committee, a PCB Advisory Committee for the town. For the record of the committee, the mission would be to advise the Selectboard and the town administrator on decisions related to PCB dredging, transport, monitoring, storage, and disposal. In addition, the committee may provide recommendations to the Selectboard for use of settlement fund monies. The committee tasks: regular attendance at open meetings, working with the town's environmental consultant to develop independent testing and monitoring procedures, to review responses, comments on the EPA GE permits, and to provide advice on the use of settlement funds. And we're looking for membership. The committee would be comprised of 5 Select Board appointed members, preferably with the following backgrounds. 1, scientists/engineers and backgrounds in environmental geology and chemistry. 2, legal experts. 3, public health experts. 4, financial experts. And 5, a member at large. And then an ex officio membership from the town administrator and the select board. And I guess we'll open it up for discussion. We want to limit it to just 5 members, or do we?
And that's for the board to discuss,
Yeah.
you know,
I think this is great. I think
Yeah.
this is definitely a step that we should work towards. I have a few, because I tried to network and create some sort of a working group in the past. I have a few people that I've come in contact with who might be interested in this. I think one of them might be here. We'll see if he has anything to say about that. Yeah, I'll reach out to those people and see what sort of expertise, I have some idea of different people's expertise and it could be helpful here. What else? Yeah.
all these meetings would be open to the public anyway,
Yeah.
because they're an official committee.
Right.
So it's not, people would still be able to come and talk and participate, they just wouldn't have a vote perhaps. Because I think, more opinions at first are gonna be good. But again, what they say is if you wanna get nothing done, form a committee. So I think we need to be careful about the number of people on the committee.
And that's why I
Not
think
have
it's
too
smart.
many.
I think it's smart to start at 5. It seems like a good number.
We could always go to 7, or, I think we need to stay an odd number, for voting purposes. Because, we could have a couple more at large, but I think as far as major issues with science, legal, health, finance, I think those are major issues that we need to have representation in those areas. And we may want to revise down the road the mission again, because we do have, the agreement does specify that GE has to work with us on future use if this should actually happen down the road.
And is that,
But I don't think we should have that written in right now.
Yeah,
We look
that's-
for
that's
look for the
later.
best, and if we need to amend the mission, then we can always amend the mission. But at the moment, I think let's leave that out of it. For the committee, I think we have to maybe meet with GE as a group, but.
so I have a couple questions too, because would this be solely comprised of Lee citizens, or could we potentially make this a larger, if there was, say, a Lennox or a Stockbridge resident with an expertise, could they be included in this?
Yeah, and you may, well, there's two things. We could amend this to say that specifically, that or you could also have them as an alternate member for a particular expertise, or.
They're always welcome. It wouldn't be limited to
It wouldn't be
only
limited to.
Lee residents. It's an open meeting, so they could come and participate.
Yeah, I'm thinking of public health experts. We've got Tri-Town Health. Maybe they
Right.
want to
Yeah,
send somebody from another
Another town, yeah,
Right.
exactly. No, it's a good point. Right now, the way I read this, there's no residency requirement.
Right.
The way it's just blanketly put out there. Maybe we're discussing it. Well, I'm sure we'll get feedback on our conversation here. See what other folks think.
Yeah, I think let's see the response that we
Yeah.
get, and then we may end up amending it to
Sure.
7, or
Right.
just see where it goes.
Maybe
What's going to be the most
a
efficient.
couple more members at large, or
Yeah,
perhaps there's a specialist that we haven't thought of. That would be
Right.
really important to have on this group.
Yeah,
So-
definitely no need to make a final decision
Oh, no,
tonight.
right.
right.
Well, this is something that we said we were gonna do, and to look into all these different kinds of impacts on our community. So, no, I think it's a great start to have out here to get some feedback and go forward from here.
Could we open this up to the public to see if there's any thoughts on this committee from, Robert or Gail or Josh, if because he's been on the
Yep.
Rest of River Committee,
Would anybody like to comment?
All right.
Don't yell so loud. Yeah,
I take them with this being.
yes, yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Robert Heinzman, 115 High Street, 121 High Street, actually. 115 is the bane of my existence because we own that too. Sean and I started talking about this a couple years ago. All I'll say is that you guys know better than I am. We're going up against very, very powerful interests and very well vested, legally vested forces. And unless you guys have a trump card, I don't see how we're going to stop this thing. I was just hiking up the Felton Pond the other day. I came by the bright, shiny chain link fence there. It's been there for a while, I know. And all the EP documentation, all of the GE documentation, the environmental consulting firms, I've read a lot of their reports. They're doing really good work because they're professionals at doing this work and they're very highly paid. So everything I see indicates that this is going to happen. So my position is that we have to milk this for every benefit possible, and we have to police this for every misplaced toenail. And I don't see doing that unless we have a group of people that are dedicated and have the expertise to ask questions. The only other thing I'll say is that there has to be, what is it in The Godfather? Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. That's what I was thinking about when I was walking down here. I didn't know this was the topic. I was just thinking about the need to be in conversation with EPA and the subcontractors, the environmental engineering firms that are doing what amounts to a massive ecological restoration project, to be in conversation about the puts and takes. So unless we come to them with an aptitude for having a seat at the table, that's going to be easy for them to ignore us. So and I'm not trying to be a harbinger of doom by saying this thing is going to happen, but I'm having a hard time seeing any other play right now. So we might as well leverage the imposition of this dump for maximum benefit for the town. That's what interests me. I don't know, and that's what the leverage is, if this committee can be formed with the right people who can be in a ongoing, sustained conversation. Because if we keep throwing barbs at them, they're just, you know. Dean and all the guys, they're very clear, they just close the door.
Yes.
Am I overstating it?
No, my response would be, I'm not a harbinger of gloom and doom at all. I would say that this board has done a pretty good job of keeping all the balls in the air. It's a multifaceted problem. And on one extreme you have, you know, no dump, no how, no way. And then you have trucks versus trains. You have other people saying
Right.
we're gonna have a dump, but how big is it going to be? How much? So it's a very, very complicated and multifaceted conversation. It's ongoing. And we do have an ongoing conversation with the EPA. And we are just exploring all the options.
Okay, good.
And we're, as I say, we're keeping all the balls in the air and looking at every possible scenario that we can think of. And we're even going outside of this so-called cleanup. We're going outside of the EPA GE concern, and we're, you know, looking for other means of other remedies that might leverage change in the plan. It's obviously not a perfect plan. It falls far short of what many people expect. So it's an ongoing conversation, but we do continue to communicate with EPA.
Good, well, I appreciate that. I'm not that close to, most of what I see are the fires and the fighting.
Yeah.
Most of what I feel is that emotion, but you all have been in the thick of it. So I appreciate what you're saying. Also acknowledge, you know, that you have been keeping a lot of balls in the air. It's very impressive, actually, given the forces at work. So anyway, if this committee can be formed and there's a way to have productive dialogue that is both technical and social, then I think there's a place for it. My only concern is that this, given the emotions around this topic, that the committee doesn't become a lightning rod for you know, how was it the British took over India with just a few soldiers? You know, divide and conquer. I mean, as long as we don't cannibalize ourselves, and this doesn't be a lightning rod, because it does have to be a place where we can have substantive conversations about how this thing is going to move forward. Is that fair?
It is. I mean, and I think we do have to open it up, because we got into trouble to begin with by not talking about it.
Yeah, right,
And,
exactly.
So we're trying to remedy that in some way.
Yeah.
Keep it in the open.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, could I ask one?
Please.
Of the areas of expertise that we've pointed out here, do you see any that we're missing? Or give us some thoughts later. You know, I don't want to put you on the spot right now, but if you think there's an area of science or any of the other areas, you know, that we need to beef up on this, then I'd like to make sure that we do that. So I'd be more than willing to take feedback.
Yeah, I think there's just two. One is
Yeah.
the industrial chemistry view, because, you know, someday we are going to figure out how to get the chlorines off of the molecules and get the bacteria to eat them. We're going to figure out how to do that for the allichlor 250 was 254 or whatever.
There's two of them, yeah.
And and then the other thing is that when I read through these reports, look, I'm involved with a lot of ecological restoration organizations globally, and it sounds like big. They're small organizations, but they work globally. And this is an ecological restoration, wetlands restoration, and it's so having expertise around plants and animals biota is going to be very useful, because you read those documents, they're written by people who really know what they're doing. Some of if you reach 5A restoration documents, et cetera. So those are two areas.
Okay.
Maybe expand the scientist engineer to more than one person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a bad idea.
Ecological restorations, because if it goes forward, that's just going to be a big
Yeah.
part of it. Are we
Yeah.
putting the right plants and animals? Are we taking care of the invasives? A lot of the stuff that's in there. But writing a plan and implementing it when you're dealing with complex ecosystems, it's a different. It's a completely different game.
Yeah,
There's got to be some QA in there, QC.
okay. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Just an additional
And Gail had
expertise that you might want to add.
Josh.
Sorry.
Josh, I'll be with you in
Is,
just, can you hold off just 1 second? Gail, do you want to come up? She's had her hand up for a bit.
Gail Cerisia, Lee. I just wanted to mention that so far with the groundwater monitoring, I do not believe that the landfill site is meeting the consent decree criteria or the RECRA, I forget, the RECRA permit standards. And so I'm hoping that kiboshes the dump. Maybe I'm wishful thinking, but so far they haven't met the 15-foot separation. So possibly, and also the fact that they haven't proven that the hydraulics are going to work.
the hydraulic dredging process that they're talking about.
And I think that the judge was looking at that as a good thing in the project. So there are some questions about the site still. So I'm going to put all my balls in that the dump is going to fail the criteria, I'm hoping. And I think that, I'm very impressed with the Selectboard and the people that they've gotten involved to try to prevent the dump and maybe possibly get it so the sediments are moved out of the area. And so I hope that this is what happens. So I just wanted to say that they haven't really proven or met all the criteria yet, and we really should wait before we throw in the towel. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Josh?
The only other expertise that I would add, two other expertise that I would add in, is one I would add in public relations and communications. I think as the town needs to, the town's been doing an excellent job articulating its position, but it might be, if there are experts in a volunteer capacity that have those skills, that might be something that want to be teased out. And I want to differentiate the difference between public health and medical. And so I want to make sure that we're also getting not just public health opinions, but I also want to see us getting medical doctors weighing in as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Any further comments from the public? We don't have to vote on anything, we're just agreeing to.
So we're gonna put this out for interest, really, is
Right.
in this form, roughly, you'd probably add a couple more.
Well, I would suggest, this will go on CTSB. And Edge may be doing an article, et cetera, on it. So give it till next meeting and then we can bring it back up for discussion.
Sure.
Maybe there's some public input between now and then. We can put together, perhaps it'll be ready to vote on then. And I don't, just a comment on, I don't feel this is throwing in the towel, not necessarily that we're saying.
No.
Because even if let's say that you're right down, there is no dump, but they still have to clean up the river, there's still the trucking aspect.
Yeah.
Other things that we may want to continue to be involved with, so.
Well, and according to the agreement then that's in place, we have the rights to do that.
Right.
And to be kept up to date and keep a line of communication open. And I think we have to do that as we go forward. So,
There's nothing written in stone about the UDF. There's a limit to what can go into the UDF.
yeah,
There's no amount that has to go into the UDF, and that is all up for
right,
discussion. That's still way in front of us. So this is ongoing and will continue to be for quite some time. But this is a great step forward.
Yeah.
And this group could perhaps influence that,
Yes.
what goes.
We hope so.
Yeah. Very good. Anything else? All right, moving on. Josh Bloom is going to give us his comments. He's a CCC member. He's going to give us comments on the PCB transport report. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, it's really intended to be about the GE's quality of life compliance plan. Chairman Jones had asked me to report out as to what I had been in touch with the EPA about. So I had reviewed the GE's quality of life compliance plan, and I found it completely premised on the assumption that all the transportation of PCB material will occur by truck rather than rail.
Right.
As the EPA has determined that this is not yet a settled issue, it makes the quality of life compliance plan questionable. And in my opinion, it must be rewritten to consider the potential implications of the rail option as well. And I would urge the Selectboard and all those who are concerned to ask the EPA to have GE go back to the drawing board on the quality of life plan, simply for the point of, if nothing else, about the not considering the rail option. What I also then came to realize was crucially absent from the quality of life compliance plan is any study or discussion of the impact of this 13-year remediation project will have on tourism or business in general in Lee and the surrounding Southern Berkshire towns. As a result of coming to that conclusion, I reached out, or I copied the Chambers of Commerce and business communities and hospitality industry leaders because I saw that they have not been formally consulted or asked to weigh in on the potential impacts of the quality of life in the Berkshires. This is a gaping omission that must be addressed by GE and the EPA. In response to my outreach, I did hear back from Kathy at the Lee Chamber, who said that she appreciated my letter and sentiments and that she would forward it on to the Lee Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I want to urge the Chamber of Commerce in Lee and the other towns and the businesses and tourism industries in our town to review and respond to the quality of life compliance plan. And I urge the Select Board to engage the various business community stakeholders to ask them to comment on the quality of life compliance plan. The next issue in the quality of life compliance plan that I saw of worth addressing and raising to all of you is that it talks about recreational activities along the river following the remediation. I found the plan only takes into consideration the recreational activities within the river, boating and fishing, and immediately on the banks of the river, walking and biking trails. But it doesn't address the impact of municipal parks and playgrounds located along the river. GE specifically had committed to facilitate Pittsfield and the town's future enhancement of recreational activities such as canoeing and other water activities, hiking and biking on trails in the rest of river corridor and on properties subject to remediation and at locations of temporary access roads and staging areas. What that potentially means is that they are committing to transforming any areas where they're doing work and remediation into recreational areas after they're done with it, and to possibly invest in recreational activities on the river. Since the town of Lee is in discussions about creating a river walk bike path and that being expanded, I would advise the town to be in conversation with the EPA and GE to find out if GE has any financial responsibility towards that project that the town is planning. And as the town's main park, the athletic field, and as we see in Stockbridge, which is heavily impacted by the river flooding, and their skate park, which terribly flooding. does GE and have any responsibility to our town parks that are susceptible to river flooding as part of this commitment to recreational activities? That's something I don't really understand fully, and I would ask for you to look into and see if there are ways to get something out of GE from that not fully developed commitment. Then specifically what came to my attention at the last CCC meeting of the EPA was the HRI's newly hired scientist expert, Dr. Mark Hermanson. He was hired under the TAG grant. He reviewed the air quality standards that had been proposed by the EPA, proposed by GE in their report about quality of life standards. And he said that there's a natural level of 10, I think these are nanograms per cubic NG per CU meter. I don't know what the standard.
Yeah, I think it's nanograms per cubic meter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he said that in all his years of analyzing PCBs and airs and looking at PCB data, he's never seen numbers as high as 50. Rarely has he seen them as high as 10. And so as GE wants to be able to have that volatilization level of PCBs in the air in our town to be as high as 10, he's saying that the standard should be 10. GE wants it to be as high as 50, and the expert advising HRI is saying they should not be higher than 10. That seems to be something that should be stressed highly. Also on health, I looked, and this I have to bring to the attention of the EPA still. Section 7 of the report is called Community Coordination in Health and Safety. That section, which is called Community Coordination in Health and Safety, has nothing further in the section about health and does not address health. And so it's a whole section on health without saying the word health again in it. And so the Tri-Town Board of Health and the LEAP Board of Health need to address that in terms of the quality of life report, as does the Selectboard. Then what I found was that GE wants to included a set of standards for noise regulations or sound regulations. And the set of standards that they put in and the times that they permitted are exceeding the standards for the town of Lee's noise standards and what we permit that have gone back for many years now. So it's anticipated that GE wants to exceed its the town's noise regulations, and the EPA's lawyer has made clear to us, not just at the last CCC meeting, but in previous ones as well, that GE has is not responsible for adhering to town regulations or even state regulations, that they can flout our regulations and they can thumb their nose at us all they like. But I would say that it strikes me as, particularly when we think that there are going to be thousands, if not tens of thousands of trucks rolling down our main street, and GE and the EPA are saying that they don't care what our town regulations say in terms of noise, in terms of light, in terms of pollution, in terms of smells. I think that as a town, that they have to have respect for our regulations. It would be one thing if we're putting in new regulations to say, these are the standards that we're saying they have to now comply with. But if they are long-standing standards that we have as at least a courtesy, they should be held to those standards. And so I would urge you to do that. And that is all that I want to share, other than that is considered one of the important documents at these final stages for review. And so I would urge the town and townspeople to give that report a thorough review. It's an easier report than some of the previous ones to get through because there's less technicalities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Josh.
Great work.
We can always count on you to do the heavy lifting. You go into great detail in your Your ability to research these things is admirable. Thank you. All this is duly noted. Chris?
I was just gonna mention too that I also received the email from Joshua. We're gonna try to incorporate most of this stuff in the town's comments as well, which you guys will get a draft copy of next week, so.
That's great. Thank you, Josh. Do we have any comment from the public? Gail, you can come up, please.
I'm just wondering if the board would be interested in finding out what the regulations are in the other towns as well, because that might give us some more backup.
The noise bylaws.
The noise and air quality or
Hours of
whatever.
operation, all those
Yeah.
kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We have a 50 and 50 mural project. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, very interesting.
Your house?
My mural on my house. Not a lot of people would see it. It's,
Chris,
hearing you, I'm sure.
Can you give us an overview?
Sure. And Sabrina, if I forget anything, holler, because Sabrina's been in contact more than I have with the artist. But there's a program that an artist is doing with 50 murals in all 50 states that will be part of a nationwide art program. And people can nominate towns for that. And Lee was actually nominated, had received some of the highest nomination in Massachusetts, I believe. So there's only one in each state. So if it was done in Lee, there would be no others with this project done anywhere else. So, so we did reach out to her. We had a meeting with her to get some more information about it. She's interested in coming up to do this if the town is interested. And it would be in the downtown area that you usually, where there's some visibility. That would be, again, part of a network of other art projects. So there's some tourism value to it as well, because people, the idea is that you'd be seeking out these in all 50 states, So we wanted to bring it to the board. We also brought it to the Chamber of Commerce too. It does not have to be on a town building, it can be on a public building as well. So we did reach out to the chamber about it. We reached out to Berkshire Housing, who owns a couple of buildings here as well, and wanted to bring it to the board and get your thoughts on it. I mean, basically for us, it would be, like the alleyway back here of Town Hall across from the existing mural that's on the CIP building. Other than that, it would have to be on a privately owned building. But did I miss anything?
You can do it on slabs as well. So
Oh, right. It doesn't have to be right on the brick. It can be done on a
do like a facade.
Move at, like
put like a facade
on
there.
panels. Yeah, it could be done. And there's different ways you go on. We would have the ability to approve the design and everything beforehand. She tries to do it as a theme of like, the gateway to the Berkshires or something like that represents the town. So again, we're just kind of putting some feelers out.
Good.
See what interest you guys had, again, chamber as well, so.
Will this be like, there's a sort of a pricing sheet here with a few other options. Is this something we would go to town meeting for an appropriation approval?
Depends on how we wanted to do it. There's a few different things. If it was going on, it could be sponsored. I mean, there are some expenses with it. It's fairly minimal, but, if it's going on a private building and they wanted to sponsor, we could. If it's on a public building.
Yep.
It could be done through our, again, if it was being done through the chamber, we already have a yearly contribution for downtown improvements, that sort of thing. It could be something that the Cultural Commission become involved with.
Right.
They have grants that they give out, et cetera. So there's a lot of options, but wanted to bring it to the board just to see what interest you guys may have in it.
I'm just trying to figure out how you'd even move forward with it. I mean, who do we involve in in picking a design? Who do we involve? Where the location? You mentioned this place, when, you know.
Right, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
I mean,
detail.
it's under your jurisdiction if we wanted to do it on a public building. If it was on another building, then, you know, obviously, that would be a different story, so.
Could we
There
put
may
it,
be some permitting things we have to look
Yeah.
at, but.
could
you
we
know.
put it out to like the chamber?
Right, yeah, that's what we've
Yeah,
done, yeah.
So, yeah,
Sure.
okay, yeah.
So,
So we need to hear back sooner than later.
And if
Right.
there's a business who wants to sponsor and have this, or we could maybe do 50-50 or something, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or maybe hands
70-30.
off.
Yeah.
You know, just let's just, you know, we'll see what those private businesses are willing to think
Yeah.
about, you know?
Yes, I'm personally open to the idea, the
Oh, yeah.
conversation, and
Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's looking at an August timeline for this, she's gonna be doing one in Vermont, and I think in New Hampshire around that August time.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have a little time to
We've got
try
a
and
little bit of
coordinate,
time,
but
but-
not a lot of time. So it takes a
Otherwise we
lot of
can-
time, you know, it goes
yeah.
flying by.
So,
So,
I mean, if the board is overall supportive of it, you know, the idea, you know, we'll wait to hear back from the chamber, see if there's any interest there. Again, Berkshire Housing for the 57 Main Street has a good spot as well.
Yeah,
We
it's a
did
great
reach out
spot.
to them. But if there's any interest in doing some panels here, that would be,
okay.
so.
I think if we can get the chamber to respond in some way, then we can follow through, depending on what they have to say.
Do you know what their, this shows my ignorance, do you know when the chamber meets and where they meet?
I just reached out to the director, but
Okay.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head when their
Okay.
next meeting is, but
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
So I know they're doing a weekly newsletter now to all the members,
nice.
and we're on that, so we.
Maybe you could forward that to the board members so we could take a look
Yeah.
at it, that'd be great.
Okay,
Interesting.
moving on. Roll toll reminder, the road tolls, of course, are when you drive down the main street, occasionally we'll have people with buckets collecting for various good causes. Applications are available on the town's website, but the deadline to submit is Wednesday, February 28th. We'll then be announcing the 2024 schedule at the March 5th Selectboard hearing. And to remind you, there are 7 weekends available. If more than 7 groups apply, a lottery will be pulled. Anyone who does not receive a date this year will be guaranteed a date next year. So February 28th, Wednesday, February 28th is the deadline, if your organization wants to participate. Moving on, any topic the chairman could not reasonably anticipate. Do we have anything, Chris, that?
I just had one thing, I can do it in my report if you want to, but I do want to talk about the UDF reuse comments. But I did want to mention, I was asked by the Historical Commission just to mention that they are in need of members. If anyone's interested, contact me at Town Hall and we can go through those duties. But just asked to pass that along, that right now they're about 3 members short,
Okay.
with a couple members having some health issues that there's concerns about getting quorum, so we're in need of some members, if anyone's interested in that. And I also, a while back, it had come up that with our open space and rec plan, part of that includes the ADA plan, that was done back in the 90s. So through that process, we were able to get a grant to update that ADA plan, Americans with Disabilities Act plan. So I just need the chair to sign that after to vote to sign the contract to continue that as part of the, related to OSRP, but a continuation of that. It will cost the town nothing, so.
Do you need a motion for that?
Right, just to sign the contract to have BRPC continue that, which is covered by a $45,000 grant, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the chair to sign, this is the ADA contract extension.
Right, yeah.
I'll second it, yeah. I just didn't know if you were done.
I didn't know if I was done either.
Yes,
Any
and allow the chair to sign, yeah.
Is there any
I think
further
I started
discussion?
with that, but.
Yeah, no.
No further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
The one thing I forgot to mention, I was gonna, there was an error in I can't remember whether it was an editorial or a article in the Berkshire Eagle stating that the state of Massachusetts owned the Housatonic Railroad.
Yeah.
They do not own the Housatonic Railroad, they own the tracks that run from Connecticut all the way to Pittsfield. And this, the state of Massachusetts owns the tracks and the sidings, but Housatonic Railroad is a private company.
Right, so I thought.
So, Chris, you
Yeah, so part of the Housatonic River cleanup plan, and I'll just read it directly from here. Permittee, which is GE, shall include in its landfill design submissions, which is due this month, based on permittee's consultations with officials from the town of Lee describing how the permittee will prepare the upland disposal facility for potential reuse once the landfill is capped, if the town of Lee desires. Any such proposals shall be described in the final remedial design, remedial action work plan, which is the one that's due. So I did finally get a call from General Electric asking if we had anything, any interest in this. And there's basically, I did also talk with EPA, to get some information, which I shared with the board of what sort of things could be done there. And one thing is we could just say, nothing, and they're gonna plant grass, and do the normal thing. Another would be, that some places have done is solar panels, which I think, given the location and the height, I assume the board would agree that would probably not be the best interest of putting things into the ground above it at a high elevation to put solar panels. The other options are recreation. Also, it didn't seem like it would be a very popular thing to put a playground or a hiking path or whatever up there. So the third option was habitat. And so one discussion we had, which I'm recommending to the board based on that, is that we simply ask that in the plan, which will go back out for comment again, that rather than just planting a monoculture of grass there, that we ask that they put plants in that are more of pollinator habitat type plants on it, for bees, butterflies, that sort of thing. And so that's what I'm kind of bringing to you guys for discussion. So we weren't given a huge turnaround on this, but again, there will be time for comments after, but those are kind of the three areas. And it seemed like that sort of pollinator habitat is kind of going along with other, the resolution that we made at town meetings and so forth. And would not involve anybody actually going up onto the site, so, which I don't think anyone is interested in doing, but.
Yeah, I'm inclined to, I agree with the third option for sure.
Might still be nice to ask GE to come sit down.
Why don't we meet on the site, have a picnic?
No, it's like, I said it might still be nice to make GE come and sit down with us. Instead of just giving them a letter. Let them send somebody. We can say, or two or three. Let's sit down with them. Go through all the options in detail. So we really know what's going on. And we can kind of, I don't know, just a thought.
It's okay with me.
Just a thought.
Well, I mean, if they're, well, it's a great thought, because I mean, if ultimately they're saying some of these other things are safe, I want to know more about their capping methods.
Exactly.
And,
we get more detail.
More detail,
Are you guys taking comments on this?
Bob?
Sure.
It's up to him.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be brief.
Yes, same.
One is.
Come up to the mic because they want to hear at home.
Okay, yeah, just a couple of quick points
Sure.
on that. The time frame is frustratingly short, I get it. I'm not sure solar panels wouldn't work, but if you're going to use, look, my wife is the pollinator pathway lady, so if you're going to do that, you want to create a biodiverse meadow habitat. Here's the issue. That place badly wants to be a forest. Everything wants to be a forest
Right.
around here. Are they going to maintain it? Because tree roots, of course, penetrate the clay layer. You guys get the
Yep.
story, right?
Yeah, that's,
That's part of the management,
Yeah,
ongoing management. So they'll mow it and, okay, good. The other thing is that they should have signage.
Yeah.
Durable, multilingual signage etched in brass, long-term, that says what's there.
Illustrations too, skulls and crossbones.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. This is
Well, it's a good reason to have them here and sit down with
Right,
us.
right.
this has been a conversation for decades around nuclear waste sites about how do you
Yeah.
create, time immemorial symbols that can
Right.
tell people, hey, this ain't clean. So
Yeah,
that's all.
my understanding, yeah, it does have to be herbaceous plants. You can't have woody plants. Again, the root system is gonna penetrate into the ground. It does have to be maintained.
But
At
what
this
does even
point,
that mean?
yeah. Well, it'd be-
Maintain, I want GE to tell me, let's put it in writing, was it once every 6 months they're gonna bring in somebody to hay it? I mean, what does it mean?
yeah.
By maintaining,
Once a
what's
year.
their vision of maintaining and how long's that gonna be?
Do we want to hear a motion?
I'd just like to hear from them.
invite them?
Yeah, at this point too, this is very like high level stuff of what direction we want to go into. Skio, who is the municipal assisting consultant with EPA, will go into this deeper and look at all of the details of species and so forth. So I think at this point it's a matter of what, do we want to go more in the habitat, more in the
Pollinator?
pollinator
Yeah, yeah.
habitat, recreation, or renewable energy area. That being said, I did ask about coming to a meeting. We can ask them again. I don't think we can't make them come here. but
How are they gonna
certainly
communicate with us, with this section if they don't come and talk to us?
Oh,
Did they decline?
correct. No,
Well, now I wanna ask the EPA to tell them that they have to come talk to us.
I will follow up again and
Yeah,
see.
please
if we can
do.
get someone here.
Say, Dean, what are you doing?
Nope.
Here, let's enforce the provisions of what you've got. If they can't enforce this, what can the EPA enforce?
Yeah.
If they can't, if they don't have any leverage at all, what's this whole thing mean?
Can't or won't?
Well, either way.
Yeah.
What does it mean
Yeah.
to us and the rest of Berkshire County? If the EPA can't get GE to do something that they promised they'd do in this, it just doesn't make any sense. So
Agreed.
let's have them come and let's meet.
That'd be great, a public
We
meeting.
can put that request
Absolutely.
in.
Yes,
Please do.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning will be plenty of time.
All right, anything else? All right, our next regular meeting is on February 20th. Same time, same place. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I will second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.